Padded practices are underway in Oxnard, California as training camp 2024 is in full swing. Welcome into the Star in Frisco, everybody. This is a special edition. He's Barry Church, former Cowboys safety. I'm Kyle Youmans. We also have Nate Newton out in Oxnard, California, as he joins us live from the practice field. Nate, I'll start with you on this one. What's been the number one thing a couple padded practices in that has stuck out to you about this Cowboys team?
Kyle, it's the offense. I mean, they're moving briskly. They're moving like they know what they're doing, have an understanding of what is happening. They've been in this offense now going on to their second year. They're moving swiftly from the wide receivers to the running backs. Quarterbacks is in tune. I'm talking about Dak is in tune with his receivers that are here in camp. A defense a little bit shaky. Every now and then you see offsides or you see a guy that lines up right and they'll kind of slow practice down. But other than that, they're moving with great speed and intensity.
Now, with you being out there in Oxnard, we've been back here in Frisco. Barry, whenever these first couple padded practices happen, how important is that for a player to get involved?
It's important for your confidence out there. I mean, when you go out there and we call it the underwear Olympics, when you're in OTAs and all that stuff, everybody looks great in shorts and shirts and everybody's running fast. But when you put the pads on, you see who really wants to play football. And I'm excited to see what these guys can do once the pads get on. Actually, they've been on these past couple of days and they look amazing.
No doubt about that. One thing to note, though, the Cowboys did suffer a major injury. Sam Williams, edge rusher out of Ole Miss. Of course, he was a second-round pick 3 seasons ago. He is out for the season. A torn MCL and ACL. Really a huge loss in terms of edge depth for this Cowboys defense. Nate, how big of a loss is this moving forward?
Oh, it's a big loss. They was expecting a lot of things from Sam, especially, I mean, and I don't want to go backwards, but he was a great special teams help too. So he was going to have his plate full this year. He was going to be able to prove who he is coming out, I think, Mississippi, the great defensive end that he was there. Now he was going to transfer that here this year, but unfortunately for the injury, that happened.
Well, like you said, Kyle, this is a huge hit to the depth of the defensive line. What I thought made this pass rush so ferocious last year was that you had Parsons and D-Law. You knew what they were going to do. They're going to eat always. But you had great depth. You had Dorrance Armstrong. You had Dante Fowler. You had Sam Williams there. So when those guys needed a break or whatever the case may be, you had that depth to be able to come in there and still have a great pass rush. Now with Dorrance Armstrong in Washington, Fowler in Washington as well, and Sam Williams out with an ACL, Mike Zimmer and the crew, they're going to have to lean on a lot of talented players, but unproven players such as Marshawn Nealon, the second-round pick.
And they did go out and add 2 more edge rushers earlier this week. It was an addition that the Cowboys needed to make because without Sam Williams in the fold, really the attention turns to some unproven depth. This doesn't necessarily help that a ton, but one of the guys that they will turn to is Marshawn Nealon, another second-round pick, but he's a rookie out of Western Michigan. Here's what he had to say about the challenge ahead.
Tough loss that we had with him. Obviously a great player, great person. Definitely myself, I know I got to step up, got to be ready just to play just that much more. And, you know, we just take all of it seriously and, you know, keep sharpening each other during practice. And, yeah.
Now, Nate, whenever it comes to Marshawn Nealon, it's not necessarily thrown into the fire because he doesn't have to start, but how much pressure is on this second-round pick?
I think, you know, Will McClay, if he had his druthers, he would be starting. He likes this kid a lot. He thinks he has a lot of explosiveness about him. He thinks he's a bigger, better Marcus Lawrence. You heard me say that last week. But, you know, I think the bigger impact is on Chauncey Golston. He has to really show up, and he's been having a pretty good camp. But that's who we need to apply a little bit of that pressure to, number 99, Chauncey Golston.
Look, I think there's a ton of pressure on Nealon coming into this season. I mean, not only are you a second-round pick expected to hit the ground running and contribute to this defense early, but the absence of Williams makes you that next guy up. So if anything were to ever happen to the starters, Parsons, D-Law, if they'd injury, need a breather, whatever the case may be, you're expected to step in there and produce at a high level. And if you're not able to produce at a high level, that puts more pressure on the plate of a Parsons, of a D-Law, asking them to play more reps out there. And you're asking D-Law, who's going into year 11, if Nealon's not able to go out there and produce, for him to maybe play 8 to 12 more snaps per game. And as a veteran, I'm telling you, that's a toll that's on your body.
It certainly will wear down, and that's not the only position with some depth concerns. But there is one position that's been showing out in training camp, the defensive backs. What kind of expectation should there be for the defensive backs this year, including Deron Bland coming off an all-pro season?
Special Edition, presented by AT&T, is brought to you by your North Texas Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas. Reliant, official energy provider of the Dallas Cowboys. Blockchain.com, make your crypto play today. And by AT&T, official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. This segment is brought to you by your North Texas Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas.
I wasn't surprised. I expected him to have a big year. His rookie year, he did really good, and you only could build on that. So, I expected him to do really good that year.
You expected 5 pick sixes out of him? It's a league record.
Yeah.
High expectations.
Yeah, he the best. He the best defensive back there is out there for sure.
Better than you?
1A, 1B.
Okay.
The confidence is certainly there between teammates Trayvon Diggs and DaRon Bland. 1A, 1B is the best in the league, says Trayvon, as they go into the first year where both guys are on the outside playing together in training camp. Welcome back in to Special Edition. Now, Nate, I want to start with you on this question. With Trayvon Diggs returning, how much of a jolt does that give this entire defensive back group?
Oh, mentally it takes them over the top. But you know what, Kyle? This is what I believe. I've seen the last two guys. I've seen Steele come back, and we've seen Gallimore come back. I would like for them to put him on a pitch count. I would like by the first game, maybe he play a series or two, and by the third or fourth game, he's going full bore. I just want him to walk him through this all the way through training camp into the regular season, because it's a mental thing. Cornerbacks don't get to recover like other positions because bad plays can happen very quickly out there. I want this kid to be who he was before he got hurt. And in order to do that, a lot of his game is mental, above the shoulders.
Yeah, I'm completely with Nate on this one. I would love to have them slow play Trayvon Diggs to get back out there, because we've seen before ACL derail, young players' careers, and hopefully it does not happen to young Trayvon Diggs out there. But when you look at that cornerback position, you got to be explosive. You got to be stable on both knees to be able to hang with these wide receivers and sudden breaks on the ball, and that's what made him so great. I just don't want him to lose that gambler mentality that let him get those 11 interceptions. Let him go out there and attack the football. He needs to have that gambler mentality. I do not want him to be conservative because he's worried about that knee. So hopefully they'll slow play him out there and he'll get back to the Diggs that we know. And
good news for Cowboys fans. It certainly looks like this training staff, this coaching staff, this front office are taking their time with Trayvon Diggs throughout training camp. He's only recently been through walkthrough portions of practice. He hasn't even been in individual or team drills quite yet. Now, DaRon Bland is coming off of a 9-interception year last year, of course, breaking the all-time season record for pick sixes in a year. What do the expectations look like, Nate, for DaRon Bland going into year 3?
Dallas Cowboys, they probably want 8 touchdowns and maybe about 15 interceptions, but that's not going to happen. A lot of teams are going to be weary of this kid, and they're going to watch him. Once you do and dominate a league, he has a gopher for every team. He has 31 gophers around the team watching what DaRon Bland does good and watching for his weaknesses. And I'm telling you, church will tell you how they're going to come at him in different ways this year.
Yeah, they're definitely going to come at him in different ways, but I'm excited to see what DaRon Bland can bring to the table in year 3, because Kyle, if it's anything like it was his first 2 seasons, the Cowboys are going to have another guy to go out there and pay early. When you talk about the definition of a ball hawking corner, that's who this guy is. 14 interceptions, 22 passes defense in his first 2 years. That is a career for most NFL defensive backs out there. So I'm excited to see what he can bring to the table. He will be guarding the #1 receiver early in the season with Trayvon Diggs coming back from his injury, so that's something to keep in mind. But once Diggs gets back into the swing of things, DaRon Bland, I'm looking for an exciting year 3.
And luckily, he had some of that experience guarding #1 receivers last year when Trayvon Diggs was out, and he definitely lived up to the expectation. One last guy to talk about, it's Jordan Lewis, who seemingly is just the solid nickel corner who you can rely on. Nate, is he one of the more underrated defenders on this entire roster?
only because of his height. When you look at his height, you're like, oh, this is Jordan Lewis. This guy's been out here making plays. He's been a part of this interception attack they've had. It's been a pandemic of interceptions out here, and it's been led by Jordan Lewis and Josh Butler, and even a young guy, Carlin Carson. 2 a day. It's averaging 2 a day, no matter whether it's Dak or anybody else. These guys are on fire in the secondary. Jordan Lewis is your nickel back.
Without a doubt, he is the best nickel on the Dallas Cowboys because he's a three-tool player. I mean, he can cover one-on-one. He's great against the run when they talk about the defense as a whole. And he's great in zone coverage and knows how quarterbacks are going to try to attack this defense. So to me, he's underrated, but he's one of the best corners that the Dallas Cowboys have on their roster.
Yeah, when it comes to starters, it really looks like that cornerback group is ready, set, and going into the season on a high note. When we come back, we sit down with Cowboys COO Stephen Jones out in Oxnard, California. What does he think about the offensive and defensive line improvement so far?
This segment was brought to you by your North Texas Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas. This segment is brought to you by the NFL Fan of the Year, presented by Captain Morgan.
All eyes here in training camp 2024 are fixated on both the offensive and defensive lines, a certain battle brewing between both sides to see which one will propel the Cowboys to victory this regular season. With more on that offensive line, it's the front office having some words. Stephen Jones sits down with our very own Nick Eatman.
What's up, Cowboys Nation? I'm Nick Eatman here along with Stephen Jones, Cowboys Chief Operating Officer. And here we are in the week of training camp in Oxnard. We've had some full padded practices, had an injury to talk about. I think I'll just start with that. You don't want to lose any player, but just what was it like to see Sam Williams down and know he's going to be out for the season?
Well, very difficult start with for Sam. He had a great offseason, was really prepared for this to be a foundation year for his career. You know, when Will and I looked at, and Coach McCarthy, Jerry and I looked at the synopsis of the season, one of the things we looked at is guys who should have played more, and he was one of them. You know, that goes on around the league. All 32 have their injury issues, and you just have to have the next man up mentality and get ready, get some young guys ready.
Let me ask you about second-round pick Marshawn Nealon, and he's a guy that is compared a lot to Tank in the way he kind of can run stop and all that, but he's wearing 94, and if you can't wear 94 in this franchise, if you can't rush the passer, can he be kind of a guy that does a little bit of everything?
No question, and you hit it best. I mean, I think you're right on it. He's a young D-Law, and it goes without saying he was in the mix. I mean, he was in the mix, and now even more in the mix in terms of playing a lot of snaps for us. He had already established himself, as a guy who was going to be in that rotation with Sam and D-Law and Micah, as a pass rusher. But he's just had an outstanding camp, a young guy who we know is going to play a lot of football for us this year, and I think he's going to make a lot of plays for us.
Well, that was your second-round pick. Your first-round pick, Tyler Guyton, he gets to go up against Micah Parsons every day, and he's done it the last couple of days here. So far, so good. You liking what you see out of him?
I mean, it looks so effortless for him. I mean, he knows how to get in front of him. He's doing it against the best. He's going against Micah. He's going against D-Law. It's a competitive situation out there, but he's long, he's big, and he's athletic. And I love what we're seeing out of Tyler Guyton. That whole young offensive line group, throwing BB and the rest of our crew is just really pleased with how that offensive line's coming along. TJ Bass, certainly you got some stalwarts and Zach and Tyler Smith, and then Steele is off to a good start in camp, and it's going to be a good battle with BB and Hoffman at that center spot.
I can't wait either to see who wins that center battle. It's either Brock Hoffman, Cooper Beebe. It looks like Hoffman has the early edge, but when we come back on Special Edition, could Cooper Beebe be one of those battles to keep an eye on, and does he have something to prove going into his rookie season?
This segment was brought to you by the NFL Fan of the Year, presented by Captain Morgan.
We just heard Stephen Jones talking about some of those battles to look forward to as we welcome you back to Special Edition with Barry Church and Nate Newton out in Oxnard, California. I'm Kyle Youmans. Nate, I'll start with you, the center position. Of course, you're an offensive lineman by trade. How big is this center battle between Cooper Beebe and the aforementioned Brock Hoffman?
As at this point, Kyle, there's no battle. It's Brock Hoffman's to lose. His experience is showing. He's blocking people. He's doing what he has to do in the pass rush, one-on-one situations. But the problem with our young guy, BB, is he's having problems with the snap, as far as I can see. And that is what is holding him back. And he's not have those long arms that you look for and covered in an offensive lineman. But and that's where his technique has to get better. So right now, Brock Hoffman is winning this thing, hands down.
Yeah, when it comes to the offensive line, I have no choice but to agree with the 6-time Pro Bowler, Nate Newton out there. But I love what I saw from Brock Hoffman last season, especially when they went up there into Washington and played and he had to get significant snaps out there. He has that nastiness to him, that I don't want to just block you. I want to put you in the dirt. And that's what the type of offensive lineman you need in the trenches, in the foxhole. And I'm seeing what I see right now from Brock Hoffman, and I love what I see.
Brock Hoffman had 156 snaps last year at center, where Cooper Beebe played right guard and left guard during his time at Kansas State. Did not play center in college. Another battle to keep an eye on. How about the backup quarterback spot? Everybody wants to know what Trey Lance is doing in Oxnard. Nate, what have you seen from both Lance and then Cooper Rush in that spot?
I think Cooper is winning that right now just because of the fact that they both have a bunch of receivers. They're not like Dak, who has a slotted set of receivers. These guys are going with multiple receivers, and neither one of them is really showing out.
Yeah, this is an important battle. I mean, the backup quarterback position is something that needs to be very much significant in the Dallas Cowboys, on the Dallas Cowboys roster, because when you look at it, anything can happen in the National Football League. And if Dak Prescott were to go down, we need somebody that can at least keep this team in contention. We saw what Cooper Rush was able to do when Dak Prescott went down with the hand injury. He went 4-1 and kept this team in contention, and they were able to go on to the playoffs. So this backup quarterback role is definitely one of the biggest battles in camp, and I would love to see Cooper Rush go out there and win it.
And then the guys that they're going to be handing the football off to, how about the running back position that right now has 8 different players fighting for 3 different spots? It's really unknown right now. Nate, what have you seen so far?
It's all about Zeke, and it's all about Rico Dowdle, and the rest of it, and the Limke. After that right there, there's nobody else. Those are the guys that's getting the major carries behind Dak.
To me, you got to go with the proven commodity. And even though Zeke is getting up there in age, he still can be a 3-down back for your team. He blocks well. He's great in between the trenches. And we saw how this team struggled on 4th and 1s and goal line situations. This is a guy that we know can punch the ball into the end zone. So I got to say Zeke has the advantage early and often.
It's not going to be easy for anybody in the running back spot to make this roster in training camp. But when we come back, how about guys that have caught Nate and Barry's eye out in training camp? Who's been standing out in Oxnard?
Special Edition, presented by AT&T, was brought to you by your North Texas Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas. Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. And by AT&T, official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys.
Bringing this episode of Special Edition to a close alongside Barry Church and Nate Newton out in Oxnard, California. I'm Kyle Youmans. Nate, I want you to tell me who has caught your eye out in Oxnard so far.
From day one, it's been number 13, Tyron Johnson. He's 5 years in the league, 4 years in the league, 5 different teams. He's a speedster. He's a 4.2, 3 guy, and he can really run. But where he's been lacking a little bit with other teams is he's not a student of the game. And talking to Coach Prince, that's what he wants. You know, he wants him to get in there, study film, and be the best he can be. And talking to Will McClay, he's a 4 or 5 receiver if he can excel on the special teams. And that's what they're looking for in this guy. He can get deep quick, Kyle.
Oh, Nate, you took my guy, but it's all good because great minds think alike. And when you talk about Tyron Billy Johnson, this guy is a lightning in the bottle, extremely fast guy. And what has impressed me most about him in camp is his way to get off of releases. When guys try to press him, he's able to get off of there quick and get down the field and present a great target for Dak Prescott and those other quarterbacks. I'm excited to see what Mr. Johnson can do in the preseason.
Yeah, he's been good. Like I said about the running back spot, it'll be tough to make the roster. Thanks for watching Special Edition. We'll see you in Oxnard next week.